Hey there, everyone. I hope you're all doing good. Today we are going to talk about the Make Noise No Coast, or Zero Coast, whatever you want. I've had this one for about 5 years now, almost since it came out. I just borrowed it from an artist audio shop and then came back after the weekend with money to keep it. And it's been one of my favorite little synthesizers pretty much since I have it. I sent it to a friend for a few weeks and I just got it back, and I guess it was time to make a video about it on this channel. I made a few videos about it on another channel that I had before my own, which was Wired Brain. I will link you some stuff over there, and there will be some links in the description as well. Okay, so let's hear it. What I like about the No Coast is that it's, at least it was at the moment when it came out, probably the only semi-modular synthesizer inspired by the West Coast philosophy, a part, of course, of the music easel itself, the Buchla music easel. And so, even like this, without any keyboard or anything, you can already make some sound. So I'm going to patch some stuff just to show you what it can do. So if you open the VCA with the offset that we have here, you can have it to drone. It has MIDI that I'm not using right now. You can use the MIDI B channel to output LFOs that are at the speed of a tap tempo here, and you have triangle here and square. I'm just using this one as a triangle right now. I'm not using this. And here's the speed. So it has that very weird vocal sounds to it. I like to use the clock output to trigger very short click drones like this. And you can use the random to control the timing. Very, very, very slow LFO. As slow as it gets here. To sweep overtones, for example. It's always been a very good friend with this. I think I bought those two around the same time. To change it a bit. And this is one of the things I like about this guy, is that you can really mix and match things. I recommend having some stackable with it. So I'm going to send this here. this is going to be reduced from this. Still going to trigger this short envelope. And we are going to send it here. This is also one of my favorite patch with this. Especially with the reverb. Shimmer on. Here, instead of reducing the envelope into the mix by inverting the random, I'm adding the random to the envelope output. I like the fact that it is so rhythmical that it can be played on its own. Now let's go back to a more decent reverb setting, but we'll still leave it on because they do work so well together. So let me show you one of my other favorite patch, which I already shown in the Wild Brain channel. Doesn't hurt to show it again. So same thing, clock to trigger here. Trigger slope output to dynamics, exponential. We are going to send a random to there, and from this we are going to send this random output to timing, to the pitch. You can actually put it there directly. So let's go just a triangle wave. Cat air everywhere. So on this side I get shorter envelopes. This side I get longer envelope and low pitches. Shorter envelope, high pitches. We could use this envelope instead. Super exponential. Because this one is the opposite. This side I get longer envelope with high pitches, and here the opposite. So you get really the clicky side of things. And also what this lets you do is to cycle this one and use it as an oscillator, as an FM modulator, to be more precise, to modulate the frequency of the oscillator here. It's eating my head. No, okay. And you get this awesome little percussion that are, yes, atonal, but just so good. Spring reverb. Plate or spring is awesome with this. Especially spring. Okay, let's make this play with other stuff. This is the exact same patch. I've just added a trigger out from the 880. Basically any drum machine with a trigger out that lets you plug into the tempo here will allow you to have this kind of things, which I can play for hours with. One of the things that I really like about the No Coast is its dynamic circuits, which is a transistor low-pass gate. It filters the high frequency and reduce the volume at the same time when you send it control voltage. like a low-pass gate, but it's not using Vectral like most of the low-pass gate do, which means that it's fast. And also it has a drive. Fast there becomes more gnarly and so you can have it soft or driven. I also love to use the square wave for this patch. Makes it like more electro. Can blend in. But the wave shaping sound with it. I always found that it's more nasty when you use only the raw wave. That's one of the few things that I don't like about it, is that I always have to adjust the volume when you're using the wave shaping output. I also love to put it high and the opposite like this. I've used this exact setup live quite a few times with other stuff, but this was like kind of thing you can bring in and out. If you use the shimmer mode with almost infinite decay here. So even though it has MIDI, I've almost never used it. I prefer to use it with CV. This is typically the kind of sound I love to do with it. For me, they're almost like tied together as I bought them at the same time. The shimmer spring or plate with playing high notes on this. Always been like, I just love it. And love to use the square wave here. Even on its own like this. Because when you go low, it's pretty intense. Especially with the dynamics straight up for a bit of overdrive. Actually too much for the pedal. Okay, let's do something that I love to do as well, is to use the velocity here. You could actually configure it to lose the LFO here and have the velocity out, but I prefer to do it this way. So it's a bit the opposite of the usual. If I play soft, I have only the square wave. Or let's do it with it will be easier like this. If I play soft, I have the triangle because I stay here, and here I have my maximum of the wave-shaped output. So that's what I have if I play hard. And once again, one of the lovely things about this key step is that it records velocity to the sequences. So listen. This is just, God, I love it. I like to add like very subtle modulation to the overtones, like this. Also like to make this more plucky by triggering the slope circuit and use it as an envelope. Just duplicating this. Like that, you can make weird stuff like this. Or just use it to add like percussiveness to this. And as you can transpose here, it's also quite easy to go from something to another. And also adding randomness to the envelope is something that, I guess when it came out, it was probably the only semi-modular that could have controllable envelopes, as it gets this heritage from Surge and Buchla Synthesizer. Speaking of Surge, let's patch one of my other favorite sounds. So I'm going to patch this square wave to the trigger of the slope circuit and use the output of the slope circuit and plug it here. So what I have here is that we are listening to this envelope generator being triggered at audio rate by the oscillator. And we can alter its sound by playing with the rise and fall time. Let's put it at linear. And as this doesn't re-trigger in the attack phase, the rise phase, it will create subharmonics. So here we can have a blend of the wave shape output and create those subharmonics here, or some sort of pulse width modulation here, especially if we take the end of cycle out, which is a square. And as this is voltage controllable, one of my favorite things is to patch the random straight into it. Let's make a long envelope. Let's go to the room, just modulated room, very long though. Longer attack. So yeah, as this is basically at the frequency of the oscillator, and where it moves, we'll be in tune, basically. And depending how you set them, you will get different type of subharmonics. And depending how you set also this, get different results. Sometimes it gets a bit buggy, and I like it, I have to say. And if you cycle this, you get some sort of odd sync sound, because this will oscillate, but it will be reset at every cycle of the oscillator. You can get into very glitchy territory as well with this. Let's do it softer. Using this output and without driving the output VCA. very low register, it makes some very cool stuff. Okay, so there is still a few last things that I really like with this, and one is any kind of percussion. I showed you already that it can be very percussive in a very nice way. Also, it's better when this is plugged in. Okay. Let's make it very short. Make noise, they're very good for this. They're very snappy envelopes. And one thing that's not there is a noise source, noise generator. But you can actually sort of make one if you plug your oscillator to the tempo input. Listen only to this thing here, and you take the random out. Basically what you have now is the random out being clocked at audio rate by the oscillator. Let's open it at max and make a longer decay envelope. Doesn't go very high, but I like to use it to also control some stuff and blend in this. Yes. It does really make some weird sounds. And yeah, depending on how you do it, you can get lots of pretty weird stuff. Also make it modulate the oscillator itself, which puts you in feedback territory. You can get some pretty interesting things from this. Once again, love it to the full wet, completely unrealistic stuff like that. Okay, and I've actually used this quite a lot. I've used this in a few tracks. They're weird drums, sound effects. Yo, it's clipping, bitch. The last patch I love with it is pretty much the most stupid one. Long decay, sub bass. I'm at the lowest note here, but I use it as the sub bass of actually all my tracks, almost. All the Stazma tracks you hear when there's like the big sub bass. This is the no coast, like this triangle. Full and open the dynamics to give the grit, add some harmonics to those bass. You can also, if you want a more 808-ish type of bass, or make kick drum, I usually mute my gate full exponential at minimum and send this to the linear FM. Just to add a bit of percussion. You can do it more if you feel like it. It actually makes some pretty awesome kick. For the kick drum, it's better to actually not use the linear FM, but the 1 volt per octave input and to attenuate it here. One fun thing that I like to do is to use the velocity here to offset the thing. But back on the simple sub thing, I will just play it like this and add some jungle break and probably slice everything to be in time. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll leave some of those samples to you on Patreon as soon as possible. I've redid this video out of the blue when I just got this back. Feel free to like, subscribe, and go visit Patreon if you want some samples, teaching about synthesizer, whatever else. Have a nice end of evening. See you next time. Bye bye.